In this video, I'm showing you how I fill my cakes. Hi, it's Karolyn. If you want to learn how to bake and decorate amazing cakes, then I'd love for you to join me by hitting subscribe and the bell. And please let me know who got the amazing reference. Are there any Happy Endings fans? It was one of the best TV shows and it was canceled years ago. But anyway, I am going to show you how to fill 3 different sizes of cakes. So let's get into the video. All right, first we are going to fill a 6-inch cake and I'm going to torte these. It's going to feed up to 16 people. I have a turntable with a piece of non-skid pad, and the non-skid pad is going to help prevent the cake from sliding around. I'm putting this on a black cake drum, and this is actually for a Hennessy cake. So in order to distinguish, I'm making so many cakes, I want to write Hennessy on the back so I know what this cake is, basically. Now this is just my yellow cake. I have a video on how I make a doctored yellow cake mix cake, and I will link that in the description. After I bake them, I wrap them up when they're still warm and freeze them overnight. When you freeze cakes, it helps keep them moist. And then this morning, I took it out of the freezer and let it sit on the countertop to thaw. And it's been thawing for about 3 to 4 hours right now, and now it's come to room temperature and I'm ready to fill it. I just cleaned my countertop, and also I have this leveler, this Wilton leveler here, and what you do, you can push these 2 parts together and it loosens this string, and then you can just adjust it to whatever notch that you want it to be on either side to be able to level it. I have a pair of scissors here because I trim my cakes with scissors also. And I have some simple syrup. The simple syrup is a 1-to-1 ratio, an equal ratio of water to sugar. And I have a video on how I make that, and I will link that below. And I just put it in a spray bottle. So I'm going to unwrap both cakes and save the plastic to rewrap it. Now this is just the way that I like to do it. If you have another way that you like to torte your cakes, that is fine. You do it that way. I'm just showing you what works for me. So I bake in 2-inch high pans, and it bakes over the top of the pan. So what I like to do is just trim off the excess. It makes it a little easier to level. Okay, now what I usually do is there are a bunch of notches on here. I go the second one from the top and then the second one from the bottom. So I want to start the second one from the top, and I want to torte these cakes. So I'm going to cut off the top part and then cut halfway down. Putting this down against the cake, and I'm just going to saw back and forth to level the top parts off. And then I'm going to bring it all the way down to the second notch from the bottom, and whatever notch you use is up to you. It's down here, and then do the same thing and cut. Peel these off and then just set them aside, save them, make cake balls, save it for the birds, whatever you want to do. Give it to your neighbors. Sometimes when I level the cakes, I don't get all the top part off, so that's why I have scissors. I just trim the excess. All right, and now I'm ready to fill this. So when I have cakes that are 6 inches or smaller, so 6, 5, or 4 inches, I use melted chocolate on the cake board to help hold the cake to the cake board. I just find with the smaller 3 sizes that they'll slide all over the place if I don't have something really holding it down. So I just melted some candy melts in the microwave, and I'm just gonna get a little bit on a spatula and put it in the center and spread it around. And then just take the bottom layer, and here's where I'm going to spray it with the simple syrup. And I just want to get a little bit on both sides. Not too much, just enough to make it a little moist. Then I'm coming back to the cake board with the melted chocolate and set this on top. And what I want to do, get low and turn it around and make sure that there's an equal distance the whole way around the cake, so it's not like set off to one side unless you want it set off to one side. And then I want to leave it here for about a minute or 2 just so the chocolate can set and it'll hold the cake in place. So she wants vanilla filling in this cake, and here's my vanilla filling. I just posted a video on how I make this huge batch of vanilla buttercream, and I will link that below. And now to fill this, I'm just going to take a spatula and get some on here. I don't want to have too thick of a filling when I tort the layers. So pressing it down to the sides. I don't pipe a stiffened buttercream dam just because of my technique of icing my cakes. I don't need it. I will also link that video below on how I ice my cakes. But if you want to, you can get some stiffened buttercream in a piping bag with a tip number 12 on it, a round tip, and pipe around the edge some buttercream and then fill the rest in. I just don't like to do that. It just takes too long. I don't have time. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the other layers. Getting some simple syrup on both sides, stacking it. And when you put the layer on top, you want to make sure that it is on straight and not hanging off to the side. Right, that's why I'm turning it around just to make sure. Press it down a little bit and repeat the process for the rest of the cake. And now, once I have it all together, I'm just going to seal all these layers. So just using some buttercream and pressing down to seal it all shut. If there's not enough buttercream, then I'll just get a little more and put it down. So I'm doing a super, super, super thin layer. It's not even a crumb coat. And then I'm just scraping the excess off. And now I'm getting the plastic from before and just going to rewrap the cake. Make sure you get all the way down to the bottom and there's no parts sticking out. Because I've done it before where I wrap it and there's a part sticking out here that I didn't see. So just make sure it's completely wrapped in the plastic. Good. And I'm going to set this aside at room temperature for a couple hours. I usually let it sit overnight because I fill my cakes one day and then I ice the next day. And I'm just going to let it sit at room temperature. It does not have to go in the refrigerator. There is no perishable fillings in here. And I'm going to show you how I do a 7-inch cake. And now I'm going to do a 7-inch cake. However, I'm not going to tort these layers. I'm going to do a taller 3-layer cake without torting them. I actually have a video explaining this in more detail because sometimes I do 2 layers and I tort them and sometimes I do 3 layers to get a couple more servings out of it. So this 7-inch cake that has 3 layers will feed 20 to 24 people. And I will put the chart below with my serving size chart and the video on how I explain different serving sizes that you can get out of your cakes. And the same thing, I'm going to trim the edges. The reason that I trim the edges is because if I just try to put this in here, like it's sticking over the edge. If I trim the edge off, it's easier to get this in here. I don't know. This is just, it's just the way that I do it. And sometimes I feel weird showing you what I do because I do things in a non-conventional way. However, this is just what I do. All right, and now to do this, I have it on the 5th notch from the top on both sides. And I'm just going to saw the tops off. And again, saving the tops, you can freeze them, make cake pops, give it to the birds, give it to the neighbors, make somebody happy. And then I just like to, for good measure, just trim the sides. It just makes it a little cleaner. And I know I'm a little OCD with this, but whatever. So I'm just taking my scissors and just trimming this little edge off. And now, same thing. So this is for a bunny cake. So I wrote bunny on the bottom of this board so I know what cake it is once everything is iced. And with these heavier, these bigger layers are heavier, so I don't need the chocolate at the bottom. So anything 7 inches or above, I just use a little bit of icing. So I'm getting some icing on my spatula and spreading it on the bottom. And same thing, just spraying both sides with a little bit of the simple syrup. And put it down. Again, make sure that it is completely in the center. And she wants vanilla filling with this. So this is confetti. This is confetti cake, and basically it's just the yellow cake, and I sprinkle some rainbow jimmies in there, or rainbow sprinkles if you want to call them sprinkles. When I do filling for this kind of cake that has the 3 thicker layers, I do a little thicker of a filling, and just because there's more cake in between. So the torted cake, the filling was pretty thin. This cake is going to be maybe 1/4 of an inch thick of filling. And if you're not sure how thick your filling is, you could take your spatula and stick it down and kind of peel it away and look and see, right? You have to find a good cake to filling ratio, right? You don't want too much and you don't want too little. And doing the same thing for the other tiers. So the bottom tier, or the bottom layer, I'm sorry, layers, not tiers. The bottom layer, I always put the bottom down on the cake board and the cake faces up. For the top layer, I put the cut part facing down. So the cut part is always facing in the center of the cake. Now, when I do this second layer, because this is going to be a middle layer, I do the cut part facing down. Just press it down a little bit. And same thing, get a little thicker of a layer of vanilla buttercream or whatever filling that you're using. I have a bunch of different filling recipes that I can link in the description below as well. And same thing with this, spreading this to the outer edges, so it's kind of going over the edge. That way I can seal the seams shut. Making sure it's center. Press down just to help it settle a little bit, and then just using this buttercream to seal the seams. And again, this is going to sit out at room temperature, covered overnight, for the layers to settle. Now, if you have a perishable filling in here, like a cream cheese filling, you're going to want to speed up the settling process. So what I like to do, because you can't leave it sit out more than 2 hours, I'm going to take a cake circle. This is a 10-inch cake circle. And I didn't mention that this is a 10-inch cake board. And I have a video on how I make these boards, and I will link that in the description below as well. But I'm going to put this on the very top of the cake. And then I have this lightweight plate, this little saucer here. It's about a pound or 1.5 pounds. And I'm going to set that on top. When you do that, you have to make sure you don't set it over to the side, or else it's going to start to sink down to the side. So get low and even with it and turn it around and make sure it looks like it's pretty much center. And then this is going to help speed up the process a little bit of the settling, and you can let it settle for 2 hours and then crumb coat it, ice it, and get it in the refrigerator. But that is only if you have perishable fillings. All right, now I want to show you what I'm going to do for a top tier of a cake. So this is going to be a 5-inch cake, and this is a 6-inch cake circle. This is a grease-proof circle. I will find these and link these below. I don't think they come in 5 inches. Maybe they do, but I just do it this way. So I'm going to turn it upside down. So I have the brown side up. This is a 5-inch cake pan. And I'm just going to put it on top of this cake circle. And I have a pen, and I'm just going to hold it down and trace the whole way around. I have a line that I can cut it out. So I have my scissors, and I'm going to cut on the inside of the pen line, so there's no pen going to be on this cardboard. And now I have a 5-inch cake circle. I tape these to the board. So this is a 10-inch regular cake circle, and I'm going to tape the 5-inch to the board. So I have some duct tape. I'm just going to rip off a piece, fold it into like a little donut, put the tape in the middle, and then just put this board on top. Good. And now this is for a Paw Patrol cake, so I'm going to label it Paw Patrol. Again, so I know what this cake is for once it is completely iced. I have my 5-inch cakes here, and I'm going to unwrap them and save the plastic. I'm doing the same process, trimming the edges. I have my notches on the third from the top, and then the second notch from the bottom. All right, same thing. And since this is a 5-inch cake, it's going to get the melted chocolate on there because 4-inch, 5-inch, or 6-inch gets the melted chocolate. And do the same process that we did before, spraying both sides lightly. Same thing, I want to make sure that it's not hanging off to one side, so just spinning it around and make sure that it looks like it's pretty even. And just give it a minute for the chocolate to set. And then just testing this, making sure it's not moving around. Good. And again, we're doing vanilla, so a lot of people are getting pretty simple flavors this week. And I want to do, like I said before, when I torte the cakes, do a thinner layer of filling. So this is probably 1/8 of an inch thick. Pushing it over the edges and repeating the process like we did before. I'm only doing about 7 squirts of the simple syrup on each side for these smaller cakes. Like, I don't like to drench it in simple syrup because my cakes are already pretty moist. I just like it to give it a little extra security blanket, if you will, of moistness. Oh, that sounded so gross. Good, putting the top layer down and pressing down a little bit to help it settle. Once I have it all sealed, then I'm going to scrape the side of my spatula against the cake just to remove the excess icing. And again, just letting this sit out overnight until it settles, and then I'll fill it and ice it. So there you go, there's my process of filling cakes, and a couple notes here. Number one, if you are using a perishable filling, you are going to want to make sure that you speed up the settling process and get the crumb coat on the cake so you can get it back in the refrigerator so it won't spoil. Number two, I have a video talking about different sizes and what size cake pans should you use, different servings that you can get out of different sizes of cakes. Sometimes I torte my cakes like you saw, sometimes I don't. That video will help explain the different sizes that you can get out of different tiers to get outside of the box of just thinking that you need a 6-inch and an 8-inch cake to serve 30 people. So I will link that in the description below as well. And once these cakes settle overnight, I will unwrap them, obviously, and then I will ice them. And I just posted a video not too long ago showing you the process of how I ice a cake in colored buttercream, and I am going to link that video below as well so you can see my process of icing the cake smooth in buttercream after I fill it using this technique. And also I'm going to link how I stack my cakes as well, so how I remove the taped piece of cardboard to the bigger cake circle and stack all the cakes. So all of those will be listed in the description as well. So I think that is it. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them below. And you can follow me on my socials, and I have my website. Everything is listed in the description below as well. And if you want to stick around, you can watch these 2 videos next. And hit subscribe and the bell if you haven't already. Please like this video if you liked it. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, it's cake. Have fun. I will see you on the next one. Bye.